Hey everybody, I'm Rachel, and today I'm going to show you all of the ingredients that I like to keep stocked in my vegan pantry. So let's go take a look.
So first up we have dried goods, like dried beans, lentils, brown rice, pasta, oats, lentil or chickpea pasta, quinoa, and millet. My favorite types of legumes to stock up on are chickpeas and lentils because they're so versatile. With dried chickpeas, you just have to let them soak overnight and then you can use them to make falafel or hummus and all kinds of dishes. Lentils are also a must to have in your vegan pantry because they're such a fantastic source of protein and iron. My favorite way to use lentils is to make a vegan bolognese sauce that is super hearty and a fantastic meat replacement. If you're not a big fan of lentils, like I wasn't, I definitely recommend giving this recipe a try. And the great thing about buying dried legumes is that you can get them waste-free in bulk, which is also a much cheaper option. Pasta is another must-have for your vegan pantry. Whether you're using a wheat, gluten-free, or a legume variety, pasta is a great option to have on hand when you want to throw together a quick, delicious meal. Oats are another major staple to stock up on. One of my favorite ways to use oats is to make homemade oat milk. It's super quick and easy to make, and much more inexpensive than buying it from the grocery store. And then last but not least are whole grains. Some of my favorite grains are brown rice and quinoa, but there are so many out there. One of the easiest ways to enjoy grains is to make a grain bowl, paired with your favorite protein, veggies, and dressing. But they can also be used to help bind together veggie burgers or even in breakfast bars. Whole grains are full of vitamins and minerals, fiber, and complex carbohydrates to keep you full and energized. Next up is canned goods, like jackfruit, coconut milk, diced tomatoes, and all kinds of beans. Jackfruit is an ingredient that you can find canned at your grocery store, and it makes for an awesome meat substitute because the texture really resembles pulled pork. I love making barbecue jackfruit to have in a sandwich with some coleslaw or tacos with my favorite toppings. Canned coconut milk is also a great item to keep in your vegan pantry. You can use coconut milk to replace heavy cream in soups and curries, or you can refrigerate it overnight and use the solidified cream to make a delicious dairy-free whipped cream to add to your desserts. Canned diced tomatoes are always good to keep on hand to add to sauces, soups, and a variety of recipes. I also love to keep canned beans on the shelf for when I don't have time to soak dried beans. Beans are packed with vitamins, minerals, fiber, and are such a versatile source of protein. You can also use the liquid that comes in the can of chickpeas, which is called aquafaba, to make some decadent vegan desserts. Next is nuts and seeds. Some of my favorites are almonds, walnuts, cashews, nut butters, hemp seeds, pumpkin seeds, chia seeds, and tahini. Nuts are a big part of my pantry because they're an awesome source of healthy fats and protein and can be used in so many recipes. I love grinding up walnuts in the food processor with mushrooms to make mushroom meat, which can be used on pizza or tacos or in any recipe where you'd normally use ground beef. And walnuts are also rich in ALA omega-3 fatty acids, which are good for your brain. Cashews are also a huge staple for me because they can be used to replicate cheese. You can soak your cashews overnight or boil them to save time, and blend them up to create a rich and creamy cheese sauce that can be used in so many dishes. You can also use cashews to replace ingredients like cream cheese to make all sorts of vegan desserts. I also like keeping nut butters on hand to add to oatmeal or smoothies for some extra protein. Sometimes I like to make my own nut butter in the food processor, which is really easy to do and a great way to save money since nut butters can be a bit pricey. Seeds are another great item to keep in your pantry because they're so nutrient dense and can be added to so many dishes. I love adding hemp seeds and chia seeds to my smoothies for some healthy omega-3s and extra protein. Or you can make some chia pudding with your favorite toppings for a breakfast that's high in protein, calcium, and ALA omega-3s. Pumpkin seeds are a great source of zinc and are full of healthy fats and protein. I love adding pumpkin seeds to salads or keeping them around just to snack on. Tahini, which is just ground up sesame seeds, is another awesome ingredient to have. My favorite way to use tahini is to make a creamy and healthy salad dressing because it has a delicious nutty flavor. Next, we have oils and condiments, like coconut oil, sunflower oil, red wine or balsamic vinegar, apple cider vinegar, salad dressings, vegan mayo, and sauces.
I also like to use coconut oil for vegan baking because it solidifies at room temperature, making it a great substitute for butter. Just make sure that you're using refined coconut oil, otherwise your baked goods will have a coconut flavor. Unless of course that's something you like, but I personally don't. I also like to keep a high heat cooking oil on hand, like sunflower oil, for when I'm frying foods at a higher temperature. I keep red wine or balsamic vinegar in my pantry so I can make my own homemade salad dressings. And apple cider vinegar, which can be mixed with non-dairy milk to make vegan buttermilk, which is delicious in pancakes. I think one of the best ways to add variety to your food is by switching up your sauces and salad dressings. I love adding sauces like vegan honey mustard, barbecue sauce, pesto, and sriracha to add lots of flavor to my dishes. I also always keep vegan mayo on hand, which is great to add to sandwiches or even use as a binder in certain recipes.
Next up is spices and seasonings. We have soy sauce, vegan Worcestershire sauce, liquid smoke, veggie bouillon, nutritional yeast, kala namak, aka black salt, and turmeric.
In my opinion, soy sauce is one of the most important ingredients to have in your pantry when you're vegan. I love using soy sauce because it has an awesome umami flavor, so I like to add it to any dish where I'm trying to replicate meat.
The same goes for vegan Worcestershire sauce and liquid smoke, which are going to add a meaty and smoky complexity to any of your dishes. I also find it super helpful to keep some vegetable bouillon on hand. I like this so much more than buying liquid vegetable broth because once you open the carton, you have to use the whole thing up or freeze it before it goes bad. And with the bouillon, you can just dilute it in hot water and use it as needed. I think nutritional yeast might be the most important ingredient for anyone who's building out their vegan pantry. Nutritional yeast has a delicious, savory, almost cheesy flavor that can be used to make any kind of cheese sauce, on popcorn. You can blend it with cashews to make a vegan parmesan. It has so many different uses. It's full of vitamins, and most of the time it's fortified with vitamin B12, but always check the label. I also recommend getting some black salt, which is also known as kala namak. Black salt has a sulfur-like flavor, which is great for mimicking the taste of eggs. I love using some black salt in my tofu scramble along with some turmeric. The turmeric will give the tofu a yellow color to resemble scrambled eggs, but it's also anti-inflammatory. Just make sure to pair it with black pepper to reap the most benefits. Next, we have baking in different types of flours, like vital wheat gluten, chickpea flour, tapioca flour, applesauce, flax meal, and organic sugar. Vital wheat gluten is another great ingredient to have in your pantry. When added to recipes, it adds a chewy and meaty texture. I like using it to help bind vegan burgers or to make some homemade seitan, which is an awesome meat substitute. Chickpea flour is a great gluten-free flour option that you can actually make by grinding up some of your dried chickpeas. My favorite way to use chickpea flour is to make a vegan omelet, which is high in protein and a delicious breakfast option. Another flour I like to keep on the shelf is tapioca flour, also known as tapioca starch. Tapioca flour provides a stretchiness, which is perfect for replicating the texture of cheese. You can use it to make a grilled cheese, or I've used it to make vegan mozzarella to put on pizza, which is incredible. For baking, I recommend stocking your pantry with applesauce and flax meal, which are two great ways to replace eggs in your baked goods. To make a flax egg, you just have to combine 1 tablespoon of flax meal with 3 tablespoons of water and let it sit for about 10 minutes. Then it will act as a binder in a variety of recipes. If you're going to use granulated sugar when baking, I would recommend buying it organic because conventional sugar is actually processed with bone char, so it's not technically vegan. Next, we have our soy protein and vegan substitutes like tofu, tempeh, vegan eggs, vegan burgers, vegan butter, and vegan cheeses. One of my favorite foods and sources of protein is tofu. I love tofu, and there are so many ways you can cook and season it, from tacos to stir fries and more. If you've had tofu in the past and you aren't a fan, give it another try. It took me a little while to get the hang of how to season and prepare it, but once I did, it became one of my favorite things to make. Another great protein option is tempeh. Tempeh is made of fermented soybeans and has a bit of a denser and nuttier texture than tofu. You can season and cook tempeh in a variety of ways, and if you really just don't like the texture of tofu, then I would definitely recommend giving tempeh a try. I love to support companies that are developing new vegan products, like vegan eggs that you can scramble or use to make an omelet, plant-based burgers, vegan butter, which I love adding to pancakes and potatoes, and vegan cheese slices, which are great to add to sandwiches and burgers, or just eaten by the slice at 2 a.m. like I do. And last but not least, we have our fruits and vegetables. I always like to have different types of fresh and frozen fruits and veggies on hand. There are all kinds of ways to get more produce into your diet. You can puree your vegetables and add them into soups, or experiment with adding different types of greens into your pesto. I also like to keep some frozen fruits and vegetables on hand for smoothies or quick dinners. And don't forget that a lot of your fresh produce can be frozen if you can't eat it all before it goes bad. Freezing fresh produce is also an awesome way to cut back on plastic packaging and to reduce food waste.
So thanks for coming along on my pantry tour, and let me know in the comments below if there's anything I didn't mention that you like to keep in your vegan pantry.